Hey, so in this video I want to talk about the radial menus in Houdini. So let's say we want to do some modeling in the viewport, some interactive modeling. You could navigate to the polygon tab, select a tool, and then perform that operation on your geometry. A quicker way to access the tools might be to assign hotkeys to those, but there are already many hotkeys assigned in Houdini. So another option is pie menus. If you hover your mouse cursor in the 3D scene view, you can press C to bring up the current menu. Now you also have a menu for snapping, which is X, and a viewports menu, which is the V key. But here we'll just focus on the current menu. It's not quite a context menu, but it's referred to as the current radial menu. For example, if I bring up the current menu with the C key and I navigate up to model and then polygons, I can select poly extrude. Now I don't have to go into that pie menu again to redo that previous operation. I can just press the Q key, so that's one shortcut there as well. Now Houdini ships with different desktops, which is a saved pane layout. And these are task-based or task-focused layouts. The default layout is bold. Now similarly, we also have task-based radial menus, so pre-built or pre-configured radial menus. And those are to the right here, to the right of the desktops drop-down, we have the radial menus. I can switch that to modeling, for example. Now I have options that are more focused on modeling, as compared to the default radial menu, which is an all-purpose radial menu. And so, for example, I can go here to the left, we have edges, so I have the edge loop tool, which will activate that tool, and I'll just place an edge. Press Q again to repeat the last operation if I want to insert more edge loops. Again, main is the default radial menu, and build is the default or all-purpose desktop pane layout. So one interesting thing is we don't always have to switch these individually. So for example, if I switch from the build desktop layout to the modeling layout, you will notice that the radial menu switches to modeling as well. Now, if you have a preferred radial menu, then you can pin that at the bottom of that radial switching menu. Alright, you can click pin current menu at the bottom of that menu. Okay, we can also edit or create new pie menus. So here, for example, I'll click on edit, and then down here you can click the plus button to add a new one, or you can go to edit and then click radial menus, and that brings up the edit radial menus window. With the 3D scene viewer selected at the top in the panes section, it will list the menus that are in that scene viewer. So now I will click plus at the bottom here to create a new one. I will give that a name. And now we can add the tools that we want in this menu. For example, in the Shelf Tools tab, I will search for Poly Split, press Enter. If I can find that, I can left click and drag and drop that on the radial menu where I want that tool to show up. The same with Poly Bevel. Click Apply and Accept. And then in the radial switching menu, I'll select that menu that I've just created. And now I can press C to bring up that menu and select a tool from that. Alright, so if I want to add another tool, I can just go into that radial switching menu again. And then we have this edit current menu option, which is going to take me directly to the current menu. I don't have to go and navigate and try to find that. This is a quick way to get to that menu, so I can customize it or add more tools to it, such as the edge loop tool, for example. Search for that, drag and drop that where I want that to be. These radial menus can only show so many tools or options at a time, so they often have grouped submenus. So how can we add a submenu? Well, we can go to the Utilities section, and here you will see submenu, so we can left click and drag and drop where we want that submenu to show up. Give that a name. In this case, I'll just name that Scripts. Double click to dive into that submenu, and now we can add tools or scripts in there. For example, I will drag a script action. Now we can write some Python code in here. I'll just write print with some string between parentheses. I will click apply and accept. Bring up the Python shell so that we can see the string that we want to print out. Okay, so now if I press C again, I can do some modeling operations. Maybe I have some script, so I can go into that submenu and I can run that script, for example. Or I can put more tools in submenus where I want them. Again, I can group them. Maybe I have tools for edges, such as again the edge loop, or maybe we have a submenu for polygons, such as poly extrude, poly bevel, and so on. I will go to Edit Current again and select poly split, for example. And notice in the script section, basically what this does is it runs a script that says run shelf tool, and it specifies the poly split SOP here. Okay, so I just thought that was interesting to bring that up. Also, out of interest, I'll just navigate here to the network editor, and then I will select the network menu, and the hotkey is actually listed here as well. So if you press N in the network editor, then this menu pops up right here. Okay, so that was a quick introduction to radial menus in Houdini and how we can create a custom one. I hope you found this interesting. Check out some of my other videos in the Houdini playlist. I also have one that goes over the hotkey manager in Houdini.